Today we will discuss about Jane Austen and her literary works and some main features of her novels. First of all, I will tell you about some life of Jane Austen. Jane Austen was the daughter of George Austen and Cassandra Leigh. She was born on December 16 in 1775. The Austens had 7 children and 2 daughters and 5 sons. Jane Austen and Cassandra, they were the sisters, 2 sisters. And when we talk about her education, we come to know that most of her education she got at home. The reason behind it that she could not live without her sister Cassandra. She could not bear the separation from her sister Cassandra, and that's why most of the time the 2 sisters were living at home together. Once both the sisters were sent to the school for the education, but there, unfortunately, Jane Austen fell ill seriously and soon she came home with her sister. And then again, she got her early education at home under the guidance of her father. At home, both the sisters were encouraged by their parents to read widely. And at that time, Jane Austen read the works of Dr. Johnson, Cooper, Goldsmith, Fielding, Richardson, Fanny Burney, and some great writers of that time. When we talk about her personality, we come to know that she was very tall, with hazel eyes, good features, and curly brown hair. She was very charming and attractive, and that's why she attracted many persons. When she was young, some persons came into the life of Jane Austen, but unfortunately she could not marry any of them. So in this way, she was unmarried throughout her life. Like her sister Cassandra was also unmarried throughout her life. When we talk about her literary career, Compton Rickett says Jane Austen was a born storyteller and reveled in it from early years. She wrote from sheer love of writing and was not sensitive to criticism. Faithful observation, personal detachment, and a fine sense of ironic comedy are among Jane Austen's chief characteristics as a writer. So these are the characteristics of her writing. The novels. The name of the novels which she wrote in her life. Some great novels are Northanger Abbey, Sense and Sensibility, Pride and Prejudice, Mansfield Park, Emma, and Persuasions. Now we will talk about some general features of her novels. The first features of her novel is her limited range. We know that Jane Austen was a great novelist. There were no extremes in her nature. Jane Austen's view of life was not extensive. She painted pictures of life she saw at close range. The secret of her power lay in the complete mastery she had as an artist over her material. She was alive to her limitations and she never touched a character or scene which she did not know thoroughly. Actually, when we talk about our limited range, Jane Austen's entire life, which was only 41 years, it was passed in villages and small towns. So, most of her life she spent in villages and some small towns. And that's why she was familiar with the life of village, rural areas and small towns. And she was familiar with the roads, the language, the activities and the people living in that areas. She was very close to those things, and that's why she depicts the life of rural gentry of South England, where she was living in her life. She was familiar with the domestic and social life and relationship of this limited world, and these find mentions in her novels. Since her life was limited in those areas, and that's why she depicts the life, particularly the rural life, the people and the activities in the villages. She presents all these things in her lives, in her novels. This narrow range occasioned Somerset remark, she wrote very much the same story in all her books, and this is no great variety in her characters. The same thing she repeated. The same characters, same places, same theme, same stories she repeated again and again in most of her novels. Her male characters do not have any soaring ambitions, and the female characters accept their social position and keep themselves busy with matrimonial pursuits. This is another features of her characters, that the hero of her novels has no soaring ambitions, and the female characters, particularly heroine and other female characters, they keep busy themselves with the different kinds of activities of that time, particular, for example, gossips, playing cards, ball dancing, and needlework, that kind of activities in which the female characters kept themselves busy. And the main characters are young girls of marriageable age or young men single with fortunes. And the male characters are young and single with fortunes. That is the features of the male characters. And the female characters are always marriageable age, and they are always running after the handsome man with fortunes. The another features of a novel is that no reference to great events of contemporary history. During her lifetime, during 41 years, some great historical events took place. For example, the United States of America came into existence with the Declaration of American Independence on July 4th, 1776, only 6 months after her birth on 16th December 1775. This is the one incident which took place during her life. The Great French Revolution of 1789 took place when she was not yet 14. The French Revolution took place. And the rise and the fall of great Napoleon occurred during her younger years. That was the third. And the great industrial revolution had also started during her lifetime. These are the great historical events that took place during her lifetime, but it appears that she was not influenced by those great events that took place during her lifetime, and that's why she did not mention even a single line about those incidents in her novels. It appears that all these events did not exist or occur for her. The theme of her novels. Love and marriage was the theme of her novels. In most of her novels, we find that love and marriages, this theme is always found. In all her novels, there are young, beautiful girls waiting for eligible young men. The aunts and the mothers of these young and beautiful girls are forever contriving and conspiring to trap the eligible single young man with fortune persons. So, not only in Pride and Prejudice, in most of our novels, we find that in all the novels of Jane Austen, there are young boys with great fortunes, and the young girls are always waiting for their marriage, and they are running after for the handsome and all that kind of the boys with fortunes. Not only the girls are running after those handsome boys, the mothers and the aunts of those young girls, they are always conspiring and planning to trap the eligible single young handsome boys with fortunes. There was no other pursuit for the characters of Jane Austen. This is you can say, the main theme of all her novels. No place for philosophy or theology in her novels. Jane Austen never concerns herself or her characters with any abstractions. Her characters are not made for spiritual insight or theological speculations. Jane Austen confines herself to social behavior. She is an excellent delineator of manners. So these are some main features of the novels of Jane Austen. Thank you.